First of all, Minister Annika Wells, Australian Sports Commission Chair Josephine Sukkar, President of the Australian Olympic Committee Ian Chesterman, CEO of the ASC Kieran Perkins, board members, distinguished guests at the top tables, my rabble-rousing friends from the media at the back tables, and friends and enemies alike, thank you. When Josephine Sukkar rang me and told me I'd be receiving this award, I thanked her and said that there were many others that deserved this award before me, and I'd be happy to provide her with a list. I'm not sure she heard me, at least she pretended not to hear me. So thank you to whoever it was that thought I should first be nominated, and thank you to those who have selected me. The thought that my name should be in the mix for this year's nominations is still one that I really haven't come to terms with. So I do want to give my heartfelt thanks to everybody. Despite what you might have heard, I'm not known for overt behaviour. Not always, anyway. So after I hung up from Josephine's call, I smiled a little bit, and then, as I tend to do, I became a little bit withdrawn while I processed what it all meant. I thought that receiving an award like this must mean one of two things. One, my time is up. I'm too old, and this is a message to get on your bike and go away quietly. Two, I thought maybe this is a plan by those who have power and influence to finally get rid of me. My suspicions weren't helped when I rang two of those at my table this evening to invite them along tonight, and I kid you not, the first thing they both said to me was, "Lifetime achievement? Do they think you're at the end of your career?" The second thing they both said to me was, "Do you think they want to get rid of you?" So at least now, if I publish a story on this moment, I'll be able to quote unnamed sources who believe I am being moved on. But I've got a message I'm going to share with you tonight, and I'd like you to keep it to yourselves. I'm not finished yet. So to be honest, this award is not because of any achievement on my part, but because of the absolutely privileged position that I found myself in, like many others have said tonight, in a job that has enabled me to play a part in being a witness to history, in telling the stories of others, in analysing what this incredible crucible called sport reveals and teaches us about ourselves, about our societies, about our passions, our challenges, our failings, our world, and the part that each of us plays in that. I do my job selfishly because I'm intrigued by people and their stories. I do my job unselfishly because I hope that by telling these stories, some of the walls that divide us will be brought down, that some of the inbuilt differences between us, politically, culturally, and ideologically, can be understood, even if we may never be entirely on the same page. I'd like to offer special thanks to one man who could not be here tonight, former ABC sports editor and the founding executive producer of Grandstand, Peter Longman. More than any other, he supported my career, despite all the headaches I gave him, through all of the arguments that we had, and for the many times that he stood up for me when others did not. Through it all, he believed in me and the potential that I had. He provided guidance, excellent advice that I didn't always want to hear, and he helped me grow by being brutally honest with me. After being told by somebody else that I was not a team player, I went to Longy because I valued his judgment, and I said, "Longy, I am a team player, aren't I?" To which he replied, "Of course you are, Holmesy, as long as the team does everything you say." So there have been many others in this room tonight from whom I've learned so much. I didn't have time, or I don't have time, to thank all of them, especially all of those people who have been so influential in my career. Some of you have already been up on stage tonight receiving your awards. But I'd like to introduce you to a few, the guests at my table who have individually inspired me, and collectively they represent the many. First of all, my husband Stan, known to you all as Stan Grant. In China, he was called more than once Stan Holmes. Now, that was because I appeared on TV more than him, because I work for China's global television network, Stan worked for America's global network, CNN. So any time CNN crossed to him, China's vast security apparatus would ensure that television screens across the country went to black. So it was only those with illegal satellites that ever saw Stan, which gave him a degree of anonymity. Now, Stan is an incredible human being from the world's longest surviving continuous living culture. And on that, I would also like to pay my respects to the Wurundjeri people and all First Nations people in this country who can teach us so much. Along with all the other First Nations people, Stan and his cohort have survived invasion, attack, occupation, and still, through some deep-rooted cultural grace that we are yet to fully understand or appreciate, they continue to search for ways where we can be part of their story, despite us writing them out of so many of our own. But he's also an internationally recognised award-winning journalist who has travelled the world recording history as it happens from some of the most significant places and events of our time. And by default, he and CNN provided me with a ticket to tag along with the kids, giving us all the irreplaceable life experience of living in different cultures, under different political systems, and learning that no matter where you are in the world, people are people just like us. To think that any people are so different that our best option is to sideline their voices, or at worst, to go to war with them, means as a civilization, we still have a long way to go. To get there, the world needs the important and necessary work that everyone in this room does. Telling stories that matter, journalism is important, from people like Stan to all of you who have been recognised tonight. We as journalists must continue to question all ideologies, questioning not just the political spin of others, but also our own. Looking carefully at the motivations and agendas of those in power and cautioning ourselves not to fall into the pit of our own propaganda in pursuit of tearing down that of others. Stan, thank you. Ian Chesterman is the President of the Australian Olympic Committee. Now, I've been fortunate to have covered 14 Olympic Games. At many of those, Ian was the chef de mission for the Australian team. The last time, in Tokyo, during COVID, it took such a toll, he decided that he'd take a much easier role and become president instead. Now, if you're like me, you will share a bipolar relationship with the Olympics. Despite what they say, it is full of politics. And of course it is. Show me another organisation in the world that has more than 200 constituents that is not political. It simply is not possible. But despite that, and maybe even because of it, the foundation of the modern Olympics was to provide a place where weapons could be laid down and differences put aside, so we could all compete as equals, celebrating and commiserating together. The hope being that we would then all return home with a better understanding of and respect for the other. In our jobs, it's easy to identify fault wherever we look. It's far less easy to help find the solutions. That falls to people like Ian, along with all of the other presidents, CEOs, and administrators in the room. Maybe we don't tell you often enough of all the good things you do as guardians and leaders in sport. Your responsibility is huge and at times unenviable. When dilemmas, scandals and crises emerge, it falls to you to navigate the path to justice, the path to change, the path to a better future. Yours is a job that is not for the faint-hearted. And despite the many challenges that sport is facing, from racism to abuse to bribery and scandal and war, I constantly ask myself before doing any story, would the world be a better place without the Olympics, without the FIFA World Cup, without our domestic leagues and competitions and all the other sport? And the answer is always no. So it falls to each of us, those in head office, those who play the game, those who report on aspects of it, to ensure that we individually and collectively leave sport in better shape than the way we found it. Ian Chesterman, thank you. Lucky I don't have a big table. Only a few more to go. Next up is Olympic member of the Coxed Four at the 1984 Olympic Games, who won Australia's first women's Olympic medal in the sport, Margot Foster. Margot embodies all the women everywhere who are talented physically and mentally, and who, despite the sporting and professional knockbacks, just keeps on turning up, refusing to be beaten, inspired to drive change, to break through barriers so others don't have to provide shoulders for others to stand on. Margot, thank you. Anthony Edgar is one of the most unique people I've ever met in the world of sport, or anywhere for that matter, and therefore he's difficult to describe. He's a consultant, a photographer, a former long-serving IOC head of media operations, not to be confused with the media communications team, whom I refer to as Media Information Anonymous, or MIA for short. Anthony was a bridge inside the often impenetrable Olympic HQ in Lausanne, convincing the IOC and every Olympic Games organising committee over the past 2 decades to provide the best facilities possible at the international media and broadcast centres to enable professionals like us to be able to do our jobs without having to worry about all the other things that can go wrong. He fought many battles on our behalf to sometimes very hostile people, and to make them understand the work that we do should be supported. But his greatest legacy is the creation of the IOC's Young Reporter program, where recent graduates or reporters would have just started their careers get the opportunity to learn from some of the most senior journalists in the world across print, broadcast and photography. I've been lucky enough to be a teacher on that program, a mentor, and to see the next generation of journalists become anchors, documentary makers and influencers in their own right is incredibly rewarding. And all the while arming them with the knowledge and the support they best need to understand how to navigate the biggest, most political, most complex event they will ever have the good fortune of covering. Anthony, thank you. Olympic swimmer and human rights lawyer Nikki Dryden, whom I met at one of Margot's famous Women in Sport lunches, which have done so much to provide contacts and support for so many. Nikki and I immediately hit it off because we were as loud as each other, and we had the same propensity to use what can only be described as colourful language very often. That's what you see with Nikki on the outside. Behind the scenes, Nikki will do and has done whatever it's going to take to lift up those who need a hand. She's not afraid to say yes when everybody else is saying no. When the collective says it can't be done, she will find a way. So in August 2021, when many of us in the room tonight had returned from the Tokyo Olympics and were in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks, it coincided with the fall of Kabul to the Taliban. I'd been watching the Taliban getting closer to Afghanistan's capital and the withdrawal of American and other forces. I knew when it happened I would phone Khalida Popol, a former footballer from Afghanistan who had previously blown the whistle on corruption and sexual abuse of the team and had fled to Europe for her own safety. The day Kabul fell, I rang her and asked her what the women of Afghanistan would be going through. Her response was full of fear, despair, and incredible wailing emotion. I knew also that the two-person Paralympic team from Afghanistan included one young woman, and they were now stranded in the country, unable to get to Tokyo. An interview with the team chef de mission, who was in London, showed how desperate and helpless he was. He put me in touch with his female athlete, who at great risk sent me a video detailing how she was in hiding, fleeing for help, demanding that the West, who came to her country, promising her and others a better life, not so quickly hop on their planes and abandon them in their hour of need. Other women inside Afghanistan started contacting me, and I put their voices to air. Within 5 minutes of those voices being heard, Nikki phoned me and said, "We've got to help them. Put me in touch with them." She phoned others who could also help. So as more women from Afghanistan contacted me, I passed them on to Nikki and others who are now part of a coordinated rescue mission. It resulted in more than 140 girls and some of their family members getting onto the last military flights out of Kabul and eventually into Australia. Nikki was at the centre of an awesome group of people that included Alison Batterson from Human Rights for All, a security expert many of you will know because of his work with some of our international teams, Neil Fergus, plus 2 other former athletes, Socceroo Craig Foster and Paralympic legend and ASC board member Kurt Fernley. Nikki, thank you. Which brings me to perhaps the 2 most important guests at my table tonight, because they represent the women of Afghanistan. Too many of whom remain trapped in their own country, the forgotten people under the only government in the world that has banned girls from higher education. They are members of the Afghanistan women's cricket team, whose rescue mission was coordinated by another team of incredible Australian women, including commentator and former player Mel Jones, Professor Catherine Ordway from the University of Canberra, and the co-founder of Game On, Emma Staples. Firuza Afghan and Nazifa Amiri are the women of Afghanistan. Firuza, Nazifa, please stand up. They are not only the future of their country, they are also the future of our country. They represent all that is good in the world of sport, but sadly, their story also shows us that if left unchecked, the world can very quickly turn. That is why we must always tell the stories of others and through the story of sport. Sport provides hope, it provides opportunities, it's the international language that we all speak. Firuza and Nazifa are incredible women of Afghanistan, members of the cricket team that I hope one day will be able to perform as members of Afghanistan here in this country. But to all of you in the room tonight, our job is not yet done. About a decade ago, a former boss of mine told me I had no future at the ABC because there was some negative press criticising my work, which is not unusual, as I often appear to be swimming against the tide, at least according to one of this country's legendary sports journalists, and I hope it's okay if I name my source here, Julian Linden from News Corp. As it turned out, my future at the ABC was longer than that particular boss, which is why I'm here celebrating with you tonight. And once again, just in case any of you thought otherwise, I am not done yet. I sincerely hope the Australian Sports Commission won't mind if I refer to this very special recognition as the first half of my Lifetime Achievement Award.